Well, the New York Times used to be considered the paper of record, and it still is. Only now it's a record of our cultural decay. The Times may no longer, have the same level of prestige or credibility, or any level of prestige or credibility at all. But as an unwitting chronicle of decadence, it still has some sort of relevance, arguably. Case in point, the article written by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Danya Isawi, let's call her. I think I'll go with that. Yeah, that sounds right. Danya Isawi. Anyway, the article's titled, "Can't Talk, I'm Busy Being Hot." A social media movement inspired by the rapper Megan Thee Stallion strikes back at the gatekeepers of beauty. Now, you, of course, are already expecting that this is going to be pretty bad, given that it's in the New York Times and it's about hotness and it mentions Megan Thee Stallion. But I assure you, it's so much worse than you anticipate. It begins. Edwina Esteem was wearing a heavy, shapeless graduation gown. It was the color of charcoal, and it reached all the way down to her ankles. And yet, she had never felt hotter. As she crossed the stage to accept her diploma, she heard the cheers from friends and family members. She was graduating from law school, and that to her was extremely hot. That was a 3-year process, said Miss Esteem. Estime, probably 26, who earned her degree this spring from the Shepherd Broad's College of Law at Nova Southeastern University in Davie. There's so many words in here that I'm not able to pronounce. 3 years of waking up and not feeling hot for me to get to that one day where I'm like, wow, this is hot. This is what's hot for me right now, she added. She is one of many who are expanding the definition of hotness, taking it beyond its former association with old notions of attractiveness. These days, being hot no longer pertains only to your physical appearance, but includes how you move through the world and how you see yourself. Now, if you're thinking, did this Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist really just go around interviewing random people about times when they felt hot and then wrote an article about it for the New York Times? And the New York Times actually published it? The answer is no. She didn't just go around interviewing them. She also watched their Instagram and TikTok videos. This was a full journalistic investigation, I assure you. No stone was left unturned to find all of the hot people. Continuing, many of those pushing for a broader understanding of the term are also pushing back against the idea that you need to wait for confirmation from someone else before feeling justified in calling yourself hot. To them, hotness is a self-declaration, and that's that. Hotness is no longer just in the eye of the beholder. It's a mood. It's a vibe. Emily Sundberg, a 28-year-old editor and filmmaker in Brooklyn, was eating spaghetti when she had a realization. She was being hot. There was nothing glamorous about it. It was just a solo weeknight dinner at the kitchen counter, and Miss Sundberg was wearing workout clothes and glasses. But she felt moved to make a video of herself as she twirled the pasta strands into a fork and succeeded in getting most of them all the way into her mouth. As she chewed with Kanye West's Jail blaring in the background, she stared into the lens with a blank expression. Miss Sundberg then posted the 7-second video to Instagram stories. Quote, "You don't have to ask for permission to be hot online," Miss Sundberg said. "You can take up space and perform and create your own power dynamics between yourself and your audience. I think being hot online is sort of pure and debatably what social media was originally for." That's why it was invented, to be hot online. It's true. I had a similar realization last night when I was standing at the fridge at 11:30 p.m., opening the container with my daughter's leftover chicken tenders, which we'd ordered for her at the restaurant earlier in the evening, but she hadn't touched. And then I was eating them cold along with her side of mac and cheese, which I also ate cold and without a fork. And as I was consuming all the leftovers that my wife specifically said she wanted to save for lunch the following day, and which I also agreed should be saved for lunch, even as I knew in my head that I would almost certainly be eating all of them in a gluttonous and shameful late night binge, I too in that moment came to the realization that I was being hot. But then I realized that I was actually just feeling heartburn. So I'm getting confused sometimes. And so I took some Tums and went to bed. I only wish that the New York Times had called me so that I could tell them about this experience. I would have loved to share it with them. Now, you may think there's no reason to continue reading from this Times article, and you're right. But we will anyway. So here's more. Quote, "A phenomenon started by the TikTok influencer Mia Lind encourages young women to go on 4-mile walks while remaining focused on self-affirming thoughts in 3 areas: what they're grateful for, their goals in life, and how they plan to accomplish them, and how hot they are." Miss Lind says, "You may not think of any boys or any boy drama," she said in a video that laid out the ground rules. In an interview, she said that she wanted to ungatekeep the feeling of being hot with her hot girl walk, taking it away from male gaze arbiters who treat daily life like some kind of beauty pageant. Being hot is really accessible, more accessible than previously thought, said Miss Lind, who created Megan Thee Stallion credited her as an inspiration for the walk. I think there's a really big reclamation of the term hot. The hot girl walk has maintained its popularity since Miss Lind posted her explanation video, which has accrued nearly 3 million videos more than a year ago. The hashtag hot girl walk has racked up more than 280 million views. Now, like you, I wish I could go back in time and throw myself off of a bridge before I'm ever forced to hear the phrase, ungatekeep the feeling of being hot. But it's too late now. We've been exposed. All we can do now is find a way to move forward and maybe try to make some sense of all of this if we can. So here's how I make sense of it. First, one of the hallmarks of a decadent society, and this is explained quite eloquently in the book, The Decadent Society, which you should read if you haven't, is that it repeats itself. It runs out of new ideas and just starts recycling old ideas over and over again. And we find this, of course, in Hollywood and pop culture, but we also find it in articles like this. Here we have the stunning and revolutionary idea that the definition of beauty should be expanded and that confidence and self-affirmation are important. Truly, this is the first time the world has ever encountered such notions. The first time since the last time, anyway, and the last time was 15 seconds before this article was published, and 15 seconds before that, and every 15 seconds for the past 30 years at least. I mean, this is the same message we've heard on repeat for decades, randomly presented as something different and unique all of a sudden. And because it's a Times article in the year 2022, the issue, of course, has also been arbitrarily racialized. Because we're told at the end of the piece, quote, Rachel Elizabeth Weissler, a researcher at the University of Oregon, specializing in linguistics and Black studies, said that many words and phrases that become common in online discourse, including hot, on fleek, and kiki, are rooted in BIPOC and queer communities. Over time, they become co-opted and come to be seen as elements of TikTok speak, she said, a phenomenon she referred to as semantic bleaching. She credited Megan Thee Stallion as a source of the memes promoting self-affirming messages for young women and girls, citing her 2020 song, Body. Quote, we saw Meg come out with Body during quarantine. And she said, it's going to be a hot girl summer. We're going to be happy. We're going to be confident women. A lot of our language change comes from women. It comes from Black people and also from people of color. So the word hot, by the way, has been used in English to denote physical attractiveness for at least like 100 years. Paris Hilton made it her catchphrase 20 years ago. And yet Megan Thee Stallion, as a representative of BIPOC and queer communities, quote unquote, gets credit as a source for the concept because of a song she made 2 years ago. As the author of the approximately 90 millionth pop song about hotness, she is somehow now a pioneer. She invented it. Now, in my opinion, not to get into too much semantics here, if anyone should get credit as a pop pioneer because of self-affirming odes to hotness, it should be the revolutionary musicians known as Right Said Fred, who 30 years ago produced the playful yet poetic anthem, I'm Too Sexy. And the world has really never been the same since, in my opinion. And yet the thing you notice about all this self-affirmation and supposed confidence, as always, is just how unconvincing it is. All of these people on social media, declare their hotness to the world, but the salient fact is that they're declaring it to the world, right? They feel the need to declare it. If you were really secure and really confident in and about yourself and your body, you wouldn't feel compelled to announce it on social media. Young women don't post selfies on Instagram or videos on TikTok because they feel beautiful. They do it because they want to feel beautiful, and they're depending on the world to tell them that they're beautiful. This is not self-affirmation, but affirmation through likes and comments and shares, which is the opposite of self-affirmation. It's the same reason they listen to unintelligible pop songs by semi-literate idiots like Megan Thee Stallion. They want to be put into this kind of trance-like state where they can believe themselves to be cool and attractive for 3 minutes at a time. And that's the primary function of modern pop music, by the way, to provide mantras for desperately insecure people. And there are a lot of desperately insecure people describing themselves in ways that they want to be seen, right? This is how they want to be seen and need to be seen. Because despite their pretensions, They depend on the world's affirmation and spend their entire lives seeking it. And that is why, finally, I guess, the New York Times, for I'm told the third time, is canceled. They still haven't gotten the message, so we're going to keep trying. Well, before you go, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. And while you're at it, if you want to go watch or listen to my full show, head to dailywire.com and subscribe. You can also catch my show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. So go check it out now. I demand it. Your compliance is somewhat appreciated.